A growth mindset about money is not something you teach in a lesson. It's not a Saturday morning conversation, and it's not a poster on the wall. It forms or doesn't through hundreds of small moments over years. Through what you say when your child loses their savings, through what you ask when they get their first pay, through how you respond when they make a money decision you never have made. Today, I'm going to give you 5 specific conversations with exact language that build a growth mindset about money in a child. Not in theory, in practice. What does a growth mindset actually mean with money? So, let's clarify. Before the 5 conversations, because growth mindset gets used loosely, I want to clarify a growth mindset. Carol Dweck, she defined it as the belief that abilities can be developed through dedication and work. A fixed mindset, on the other hand, is the belief that abilities are innate. You either have them or you don't.
We find that students can have different perspectives on their intelligence, talents, and abilities. When they're more of a fixed mindset, they believe their talents and abilities are just these fixed traits. They have a certain amount, and that's it. This makes them afraid of learning. They're so worried about looking smart and not looking dumb that they back off from challenging learning. But when they're in more of a growth mindset, they can forget about smart and dumb. They can focus on developing their abilities. As a result, they take on challenges, they are more resilient in the face of setbacks, and they learn more.
So, applying it to money, a child with a fixed mindset believes that they're either good with money or they're not. A mistake confirms the belief, and a win is luck. So progress, it feels impossible. A child with a growth mindset around money believes that financial skill is learnable. A mistake is data, information in. And a win is something to understand and repeat. So progress is the point. These 5 conversations that I'm about to show you, they shift the frame. Every time, used consistently, they change what your child believes is possible. For the first conversation, I call this the mistake debrief. So I would kick it off and start it with, what did you learn from what just happened? So when your child makes a money mistake, they spend all their savings, or they lose their money, or they pay too much for something, or somebody gives them the wrong change and they haven't figured out and they didn't realize that they lost money, resist the instinct to lecture. The lecture teaches nothing, except that money mistakes are shameful. Instead, what did you think happened there? And what would you do differently next time? So 2 questions. That's it. You're not minimizing the mistake. You're treating it as information, and rather than a verdict. So what's your tone? A child who is asked, what did you learn? They take that mistake fundamentally different with the relationship to failure as somebody who's just been told that was a mistake. So listen for, are they blaming external factors like I didn't know, or taking ownership, I spent it too fast? Both responses are fine, but the ownership one is what you're building towards. So it's information rather than verdict. That reframes it in 4 words. So the second conversation, this one I call the curiosity unlock. What do you think that actually costs to make? This one is underused, and dramatically. So the next time that your child wants something, say a toy, a game, or a snack, ask, what do you think that costs to make? Not, do you know how much it costs? It's the manufacturing question, the curiosity question. Let them guess. And then if you know, or you can look it up together, find out. The gap between what they think it costs to make And what it retails for is the beginning of every conversation about margin, markup, value, and why prices are what they are. A child who thinks about the cost behind the price has already started thinking like an entrepreneur. That's not a lesson. That's a habit of curiosity. That's our purpose as adults, is to inspire curiosity. As teachers, we inspire curiosity, engagement. The next one I call the big thinking prompt. So for the third conversation, if you couldn't fail, what would you try with money? This feels like a soft question, but it isn't. Ask it to yourself. A child with a fixed mindset around money will give you a small answer, something safe, something they already know they can do. A child with a growth money mindset will give you something big, and then start working backwards to figure out how. Use this conversation once in a month. You don't have to act on the answers. You're training the instinct. Money is a tool for possibility, not just a thing you accumulate or spend. The what if question is where entrepreneurial thinking starts. And the follow-up, if they give you something big, it's, okay, what would be the very first small step? You're not shooting it down, you're making it real. So money is a tool for possibility, not just a thing you accumulate or spend. It's deliberate. Breathe it. The fourth conversation, I call this the effort acknowledgement. That took real effort. What made it possible? Growth mindset research is consistent on one point. Praising effort over outcome builds resilience. Praising the outcome builds performance anxiety. So applied to money, when your child saves their goal amount, hits a savings milestone, or sticks to their spend plan through a genuinely difficult week, don't just say, well done. Ask, what made that possible? This is what makes a great classroom. Your home is your family's classroom. They'll give you an answer, and in that answer is the beginning of financial self-awareness, understanding their own decision-making, their own patterns, their own capacity to choose differently than last time. The child who knows why they succeeded is better positioned to repeat it than the child who was just told, you did a good job. Fifth conversation, the abundance moment. If you had more than you need, what would you do with it? This one is for a specific moment. When your child has just received or saved money, and the amount is enough to cover what they planned for, with some left over. The question plants a seed. What does more than enough look like? What becomes possible? This is the beginning of abundance thinking. The belief that financial resources can be grown, shared, directed towards something more meaningful, rather than being hoarded out of fear or spent out of habit. Children who are only ever in just enough mode, spending everything, saving nothing, or alternatively saving everything but never spending, don't have a relationship with abundance. This conversation opens that door gently, with no pressure. On the Financial Adventure Club platform, Gerri and Phil have these conversations in every episode. It's embedded in the story rather than stated as lessons. Your child sees what it looks like to ask, what did I learn after a loss? To think big before thinking safe. To understand the work behind the want. And they absorb it through character, not instruction. The Dream Lab section of the website, of the platform, actually goes more specifically into the how does this work. Whereas in the Treehouse section, they go through these stories step by step. Today's video, this one, is the home version. Use these 5 conversations with your child this week. You don't need all 5 at once. Start with conversation 1. Find the next mistake. Ask the question. Tuesday's video, if you missed it, that was the one about what separated thriving young entrepreneurs from the struggling ones in my classroom. It's in the description. It gives you the 3 traits these conversations are designed to build. So they go together as a pair this week. And for your question, which of these 5 conversations are you going to try first? Tell me below, and please come back, tell me how it went. Until next time, see ya.